Did you know that researchers at the University of California found that people who set clear boundaries experience up to 50% less daily stress compared to those who do not? Boundaries are not just about keeping difficult people away, they are about protecting your energy, your focus, and your peace of mind. Most of us think we are setting boundaries, but what we are really doing is hinting, hoping, or sugarcoating. Then we feel drained when people do not respect limits we never clearly explained. Blunt boundaries change that story. They are not about being harsh, they are about being clear. They are the foundation of both confidence and emotional intelligence. Real emotional intelligence is not just about empathy or being endlessly nice. It is about self awareness, regulation, and knowing how to show up without burning out. If you have ever said yes when you want to say no, or if you have ever felt guilty for putting yourself first, this is your reset. Chapter 1: Why Boundaries Feel So Hard. Saying no should be simple, but it rarely feels that way. Most of us feel heavy pressure the moment we think about setting a limit. Psychologists call this the social cost bias. It is the belief that saying no will cost us more than it actually does. We picture people getting upset, pulling away, or labeling us as selfish. In reality, studies show that others usually take it better than we imagine. Often, they end up respecting us more for being upfront. The reason this feels so difficult is because many of us grew up equating being good with being agreeable. We think approval equals acceptance. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, we often mistake it for being endlessly adaptable. But that is only half the picture. Daniel Goleman, who popularized the idea of emotional intelligence, wrote that self regulation and self awareness are just as important as empathy. If you cannot regulate your energy and protect your own limits, then your emotional intelligence is incomplete. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you chip away at your own trust. You are not lying to the other person, you are lying to yourself. And repeated self betrayal always comes with a cost. It shows up as resentment, it shows up as exhaustion. Over time, it even shows up as lost confidence. Because if you cannot count on yourself to be honest, you begin to question everything else. Chapter 2: The Power of Blunt Boundaries. Blunt boundaries are not about being rude, they are about being clear. Think of a glass wall in a room. Everyone can see where the wall starts and ends, so no one walks into it. But if that wall is made of fog, people stumble through it. Not because they are trying to disrespect you, but because they cannot see the limits. That is what happens when we try to make our boundaries soft and polite instead of direct. The power of blunt boundaries lies in how they remove confusion. People no longer have to guess. You no longer have to feel resentful. And the surprising result is that bluntness often builds trust. When someone tells you exactly what they are comfortable with, you do not waste energy wondering. You can relax. In the same way, others relax around you when you stop hiding behind half answers. A blunt boundary is an act of honesty. It says, "This is what I need in order to show up fully and without resentment." That kind of clarity is not cold, it is a gift. When you stop forcing yourself into situations that drain you, you become a better friend, partner, or colleague in the spaces where you truly want to give. Chapter 3: Where Boundaries and Emotional Intelligence Meet. Emotional intelligence is often described as the ability to understand and manage emotions, both your own and other people's. Boundaries live right at the center of that skill. Without boundaries, empathy can overwhelm you. You end up carrying emotions that are not yours to carry. On the other hand, without empathy, boundaries can turn into walls that keep everyone out. The balance is where real emotional intelligence comes alive. A boundary is not just about protecting yourself. It is also about helping others understand how to engage with you. Think of it as emotional road signs. A stop sign tells drivers what not to do. A yield sign tells them to slow down. Boundaries do the same for relationships. They reduce misunderstandings and make space for healthier connections. What makes this powerful is that it raises the quality of your relationships. People know what to expect from you. You are no longer unpredictable because you are no longer saying yes when you mean no. When your words and your actions line up, you build trust. That is the foundation of emotional intelligence, honesty, consistency, and self respect. Chapter 4: How to Set Blunt Boundaries Without Guilt. One of the hardest parts about setting boundaries is the guilt that comes right after. You know the feeling. You finally say no to someone, and then you replay it in your head, wondering if you were too harsh. That guilt often comes from the story we tell ourselves, not from reality. The truth is, people are usually more understanding than we expect. Guilt fades, but the respect you earn by being clear will last. The key is to keep it simple. A blunt boundary does not need a long explanation. You do not have to prove that your no is valid. You do not have to write a speech about why you need space. A short, honest sentence is enough. I cannot take that on right now. That does not work for me. I'm not available. When you strip away the extra justifications, you make space for clarity. Another way to ease guilt is to remind yourself that boundaries are not rejections of people. They are reflections of demands that do not align with your energy or values. You are not saying, I do not care about you. You are saying, I want to keep showing up for you in a way that is sustainable. That small shift in mindset turns guilt into confidence. Chapter 5: Blunt Boundaries in Action. Boundaries are powerful in theory, but they matter most when you practice them in everyday life. Take work, for example. Imagine a colleague who always dumps last minute tasks on your desk. Instead of quietly taking them on and resenting it later, a blunt boundary sounds like, I won't be able to handle that today, but I can help you tomorrow morning. Clear, respectful, and firm. In friendships, blunt boundaries can sound like, I can't talk right now, but I'll call you back later. Or, I value our time together, but I need some quiet tonight. These statements may feel uncomfortable at first, but they create space for trust. Your friend no longer has to guess why you're distant. They know where you stand. In family life, boundaries can be even more important. Families often assume unlimited access, and that can drain you quickly. Saying, I can't come this weekend, I need time to rest, or I'm not comfortable discussing that topic, may feel bold, but it prevents small frustrations from growing into hidden resentments. These conversations are not about shutting people out. They are about letting relationships breathe. Chapter 6: The Hidden Benefits of Blunt Boundaries. The first hidden benefit of blunt boundaries is energy. When you stop overcommitting, you free up the mental and emotional space to focus on what matters most. You spend less time overthinking, less time feeling drained, and more time being present. This shift alone can change how you show up every day. The second benefit is respect. People take your words more seriously when they know you mean them. If you sometimes say yes and sometimes say no to the same request, people learn to test your limits. But when you are consistent, they learn to trust you. Respect does not come from pleasing everyone. It comes from being dependable in what you say and do. The third benefit is deeper connection. It may sound backwards, but boundaries often bring you closer to others. When people know where you stand, they can approach you without fear of hidden tension. Relationships feel lighter, conversations feel clearer, and trust grows naturally. Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges that make relationships stronger. Chapter 7: Living with Blunt Boundaries. Living with blunt boundaries does not mean you never bend. It means you choose when and how to give, instead of being pulled in every direction. You become intentional with your time and your energy, and that intentionality shows up as confidence. People notice when you are not scattered, when you are not secretly resentful, when you show up clear and steady. Another part of living with boundaries is accepting that not everyone will like them. Some people benefit from your lack of limits. They may push back when you draw the line. That pushback is not a sign that you are wrong. It is a sign that the boundary is working. Emotional intelligence is not about pleasing everyone. It is about aligning your choices with your values. And here is the ultimate shift. Boundaries are not just about saying no. They are about making room for the yeses that matter. When you say no to draining commitments, you say yes to rest. When you say no to gossip, you say yes to healthier conversations. When you say no to constant demands, you say yes to your own growth. Blunt boundaries do not close doors, they open the right ones. So, if you have been avoiding boundaries out of guilt or fear, remember this: the people who value you will adjust. The ones who resist were relying on your lack of clarity. You're not hurting anyone by being direct. You are simply being honest. And honesty, at the end of the day, is the heart of both confidence and emotional intelligence. In summary, boundaries are not the end of kindness. They are the beginning of it. When you respect your own limits, you can show up for others with clarity, with energy, and with honesty. Emotional intelligence is not about saying yes to everything. It is about knowing when to step back, when to stand firm, and when to say no, so that your yes carries real weight. If blunt boundaries feel uncomfortable at first, remember that growth usually does. You are not being mean. You are being real. And the more real you are, the more powerful your connections become. People trust the version of you that is consistent and honest. That is how confidence and emotional intelligence grow together. And if you made it this far, here is your quirky assignment. Say no to something small this week, even if it's just saying no to sharing your fries. Protect your fries. Protect your peace. And you know what deserves your yes? That bright red subscribe button.